Zion returning tonight. What are you hearing about that? Any minutes restrictions? What are you hearing about with this?
There are no minutes restrictions on him as far as I know. I think he's been healthy for a while, to be honest, Rich. That last game at North Carolina, if that was an NCAA tournament game, say a second round or Sweet 16 game, there's no doubt that he would have played. So the knee is fine. It's a matter of him being in game shape at this point, and that's really hard to throw a guy like that into the mix who's all about athleticism and effort and energy if he's not really in full condition. So, certainly smart to have an abundance of caution. He'll have, probably a couple of games, theoretically maybe 3 games in the ACC tournament to get into shape, and then another few days of practice to get ready for the NCAA tournament.
In your experience of covering this sport, Seth Davis, will there be a more scrutinized shoe in the history of the sport than the one that he laces up to his left foot tonight, Seth?
I've actually poked around, and no one will answer this question, shockingly enough. I'd like to know where that shoe is. Somebody had to save that shoe. I mean, at the very least, it should be auctioned off for charity. Maybe signed by Barack Obama, who was a few feet away. I'll tell you what's interesting, Rich, is I've heard coaches kind of complain to me about how light these shoes are. That was the first thing I thought of, because for the general public, the public likes walking around in light shoes, but they offer less support. So I don't know if the data would back it up, but I know coaches believe that it's not just Nike, by the way. They're all kind of competing for that you're seeing more foot injuries and ankle injuries and stress fractures and stress reactions because of that.
Well, so, I would think for sure that shoe had to be sent back to some sort of laboratory in Oregon. They I'm sure they wanted to test that, et cetera, or make sure it's removed from public circulation, A, and B, they will. Charles Barkley went on TNT while going out and fully saying that he is a Nike guy, that he heard that it's the same shoe that Zion had been wearing all year long, and that he was the type of guy that he would change shoes almost every game, is what Charles said back when he played.
Yeah, I don't know. That struck me because I know people have said that. I don't know that Duke or Zion have ever confirmed that. They're kind of the flagship Nike program, so I don't think they really want to talk about it. But, that would be something that would be good to know. And when you talk to I work with a lot of NBA guys on television, and a lot of them will tell you that they've done that. So it wasn't so exceptional, but given the circumstances and given Zion, Zion just seems like a cartoon character, So the fact that it was him and the Carolina game and Obama was there and everybody was watching the very first minute of the game, and then he got hurt because of it, and that launched the whole debate about whether he should shut it down. I mean, it was a pretty epic moment.
Seth Davis here on the Rich Eisen Show, and I'm just glad that whole shut it down argument is a moot one right now. And I know Charles also said he was the voice that said that players play. Do you think at all that was a realistic conversation that was going on in Duke?
It was. On the one hand, it was one of the dumber things. I mean, look, in today's media culture, media climate, social media, it's hard to keep lowering that bar on the surface. But I'll say this, Rich, I actually thought it was a pretty healthy discussion because it made people really think about, everyone talks about what the players are doing for the school and all the money they generate, but there's rarely much discussion about what they're getting out of it, even under the current system, flawed as it is. And I think when people step back and who among us wouldn't trade places with Zion Williamson right now? I mean, look at the life that he's living, and what injury could he possibly suffer that's going to keep him out of being the number one player in the draft and having every chance at a lucrative NBA career. He's playing for Duke University on a great team that has a chance to win the national championship with his best friends, and being on a campus and being in that environment and being the focus of everybody's attention. I mean, who among us wouldn't trade places with him right now? So I actually thought, on balance, it was a pretty healthy discussion because it forced people to focus on how Zion is exploiting the system to his benefit.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.